There comes a moment in every chosen one's life when the world becomes too loud, too tempting, too demanding, and yet something inside you whispers, pull away, do not give in. That whisper is not of this world. It is divine. It is the voice of God summoning you to ascend. When you, the chosen one, begin to abstain from the indulgences of the flesh, when you deny yourself the craving for instant pleasure, you are not simply resisting temptation. You are preparing to awaken a sacred fire. And make no mistake, the moment you resist that impulse, something begins to shift not just within you, but around you. Heaven leans closer. The realm of darkness shudders. The atmosphere recognizes your decision as a holy act. You may have been misunderstood your whole life, labeled too intense, too sensitive, or too distant, but you were never meant to fit in with the patterns of the world. You were set apart. The loneliness you've endured, the betrayal you've felt, the way others looked at you like they couldn't quite figure you out, it was all part of a divine molding process. You were not being punished. You were being preserved. Because what's coming through you requires a vessel that is not polluted by worldly lust or ego gratification. Your purity, especially your spiritual purity, is the throne on which divine power will sit. That's why you've felt called to let go of things others easily indulge in. When you chose to step away from desire, from the obsession with self-pleasure, you made a declaration to the heavens, I am ready. Ready for what, you might ask? Ready for the unveiling, the rebirth, the manifestation of what has been promised to you long ago in secret whispers, dreams, and divine delays. You thought God was silent, but he was watching, and he was waiting, waiting for your yes, waiting for your no, waiting to see if you would rise above what enslaves so many. See, the world has trained people to chase after their urges, to worship desire, to feed lust and call it liberation. But you were never made to live in that system. That's why the moment you tried to conform, your spirit became restless, your soul became grieved, and the more you gave in, the more distant you felt from your essence. But now something different is happening. You've stopped chasing, and you've started listening. And in that silence, free from the noise of gratification, you are finally able to hear the sound of heaven preparing your breakthrough. Do not underestimate what you've done by abstaining. This isn't just about physical acts. This is about energetic shifts. Your decision sent ripples into the spirit realm. Chains broke, contracts were canceled, old versions of you began to die, and new dimensions of you started waking up. You're becoming more discerning, more intuitive. Dreams have intensified, synchronicities are appearing. You can feel when someone is lying to you, even if they smile to your face. You can sense when a room is full of hidden darkness, even if the lights are on. That's not paranoia, that's spiritual elevation. You're beginning to glow in ways that cannot be explained. People look at you longer now, not because of how you dress, not because of what you say, but because of the vibration you carry. It is divine, it is holy, it is rare, and the enemy hates that. That's why temptations increased as you started healing. That's why urges got louder as you started stepping into your calling. Because darkness knows what you're about to become, and it tried desperately to keep you distracted. But you said no. You turned inward. You sat with your wounds instead of numbing them. You let the fire refine you instead of running into false comfort. You chose sanctity over seduction. And for that, heaven is about to reward you. But don't expect the reward to look like the world's version of success. This is deeper than money, deeper than followers, deeper than applause. This reward is peace, unshakable divine peace. This reward is favor, doors opening without you even knocking. This reward is revelation. You'll start knowing things without being told. You'll start seeing things others are blind to. You'll start dreaming with clarity and waking up with instructions. And yes, the world will look at you like you've lost your mind, but you haven't. You've just found your soul. There's a reason desire had such a grip on you, because the enemy knew what you would tap into if you ever broke free. He knew the power you would carry if you stopped feeding your shadow and started nourishing your light. You are not just chosen, you are anointed. And with anointing comes attack. With elevation comes isolation. But with obedience comes glory. Don't mourn the pleasures you've walked away from. Don't grieve the instant rush you used to depend on. Because what you're gaining is worth infinitely more. You are reclaiming your original design. You're not just healing, you're being recoded, rewired, reborn. And what's coming for you in this next season will not be delayed. It will not be denied, because you passed the test that most fail. You stood still in the fire. You said no when every cell in your body was screaming yes. You didn't just resist, you surrendered. And that surrender echoed through dimensions. Your angels heard it, the heavens heard it. And now your life is about to bear fruit so abundant, it will shock those who tried to count you out. The people who once mocked your devotion will start asking for your wisdom. The ones who laughed when you spoke of God will start secretly watching your life for evidence of Him. And oh, they will see it, because when God is involved, nothing stays the same. He takes the humble and makes them powerful. He takes the rejected and makes them radiant. He takes the ones the world cast aside and crowns them with glory. You've reached that point, chosen one. This isn't just a phase. This is a prophetic shift. You're stepping into alignment. You're walking into divine timing. And yes, you're still human. You'll still feel the pull, the loneliness, the ache. But now you know it's not your enemy. It's your initiation. Don't look back. Don't reach for what used to soothe you, because what's ahead of you is sacred. God has His hand on you, and He's about to blow your mind. You didn't make it this far by chance. No, there's no accident in your endurance, no coincidence in your survival. Everything you've gone through has had divine fingerprints all over it. Chosen one, you've been walking through spiritual fire your whole life. And now it's finally time to realize every battle, every betrayal, every breakdown was spiritual training. God saw you before the world ever rejected you. And what others saw as weakness, He called sacred strength. They don't know what it took for you to get here. They didn't see the nights you wrestled with your own flesh, begging for clarity, pleading for peace, resisting urges that once had you bound. No one knew about the warfare that took place behind your silence. You weren't just abstaining from desire. You were fighting legions of shadows, invisible but real. Demons that came to remind you of past shame, old wounds, false comfort. But you didn't bow to them. You didn't run back to what was familiar. You stood your ground, trembling maybe, but unshaken. That kind of strength isn't ordinary. That kind of obedience doesn't go unnoticed in the realm of spirit. Every time you said no to the voice of desire that tempted you into cycles of shame, the heavens wrote it down as victory. Every time you chose stillness over stimulation, reflection over reaction, the light within you expanded. And that light, chosen one, is dangerous to darkness. Understand this, you were never fighting flesh and blood. The real battle has always been between spirit and seduction. It wasn't just about urges, it was about your destiny. Every temptation was a trap to abort your mission. Because if you gave in, the clarity you needed wouldn't come. The messages meant for you would be distorted. The gifts within you would stay dormant. But now they are awakening. You're becoming more sensitive to what's real and what's fake. You can feel the weight of a room without a word being spoken. You're reading energies, not just faces. You're hearing messages in dreams and feeling warnings in your gut. That's not anxiety, that's discernment. You were not made to be numb. You were made to feel deeply. And that includes the ache of abstaining. That ache is proof that your soul is craving something more eternal. You've seen what lust does. You've seen what instant gratification brings. A brief high followed by a long, cold silence. It promised joy but delivered guilt. It promised connection but birthed emptiness. But now that you've pulled away, now that you've chosen the narrow path, something sacred is unfolding within you. Don't let anyone tell you it's easy. This kind of purification process is brutal. It's lonely. It's messy. You'll question yourself 100 times. But each time you resist what once controlled you, you rewrite your future. You're changing your bloodline. You're shifting your vibration. You're aligning with a purpose bigger than your body, your soul's mission. The enemy knew your potential long before you did. That's why you've been under attack for as long as you can remember. That's why relationships broke for no reason. That's why doors closed unexpectedly. You weren't cursed. You were being called. And now those who laughed behind your back, they feel it. The very ones who once mocked your discipline can't stop watching your rise. They're sensing something in the air. They don't understand it, but they feel it. They don't believe in your God, but they can't explain your peace. And that's exactly how the divine works. God doesn't need to shout. His glory whispers. It unfolds silently in the lives of those who dared to obey when it hurt. Those who abstained when they could have indulged. Those who remained pure in a world that celebrates perversion. You've been walking through fire while others were dancing in comfort. But here's the truth they won't tell you. Comfort doesn't build warriors. It numbs them. And this world doesn't need more numb people. It needs souls who are awake, alert, aligned. And you, chosen one, you are that soul. You didn't lose your desires, you just redirected them. You no longer crave what drains you. You're longing for what fills you. You're seeking the eternal, not the artificial. And because of that, God is now revealing himself in new ways. You're not just talking to him, you're hearing him talk back. You're not just praying, you're receiving instructions. You're not just seeking guidance, you're moving in divine flow. And it's making people uncomfortable. Not because you're preaching, but because your presence exposes their distractions. Your silence convicts them. Your calm unsettles them. Why? Because you've tapped into something they don't understand. You've chosen a frequency that can't be bought or copied. That frequency is purity. And purity in a corrupted world is rebellious. But it is also unstoppable. The more you walk in this anointing, the more the tables are turning. The people who once had power over your emotions are now irrelevant. The things that once seduced you now seem small. You're not judging others, but you can't unsee the truth now. You know what desire without discipline leads to. You've seen what happens when people feed the flesh and forget the spirit. And you've chosen a higher path, not out of pride, but out of purpose. The atmosphere around you is shifting. You're starting to feel like you don't belong anywhere. And that's exactly how divine ones feel before the promotion. Because the place you're being sent to doesn't exist yet. It's being prepared just for you. You're not just abstaining, you're ascending. And those who tried to block you, manipulate you, distract you, they are starting to tremble. Not because you're threatening them, but because your growth exposes their stagnation. Your healing reminds them of the healing they've avoided. Your purity mirrors back their compromise. And now they're either being drawn to your light or running from it. Don't be surprised if people start falling away. Let them. Don't grieve the ones who ghost you, ignore you, or try to guilt trip you. They were never rejecting you. They were rejecting the light inside you that made them face their shadows. You were not called to please them. You were called to wake them up. And now, because of your obedience, God is shaking the foundations around you. He is aligning opportunities, divine connections, supernatural provision. But even more than that, He is preparing to showcase your transformation in front of those who once dismissed you. Not to humiliate them, but to glorify His power. Because when a chosen one says no to the world and yes to God, heaven responds with fire. That fire is coming now. It's not to burn you. It's to illuminate you, to refine you, to reveal you. And the world is about to watch in awe as everything you suffered in secret becomes the story of your supernatural rise. You didn't suffer in silence for nothing. You didn't cry out in the dark, resisting desire, pleading for help, only to be ignored. God saw you, every tear you shed, every temptation you resisted, every night you felt like you were drowning in the weight of your own flesh. He was there. And now the silence is ending. The shift is beginning. What you've been carrying in secret is about to be revealed in public. Your hidden obedience is about to be met with open justice. And those who thought your silence meant weakness are about to see the storm God has been preparing inside of you. This is where everything starts to reverse, not by force, but by divine order. The tables are turning. Those who once mocked you will now marvel. Those who betrayed you will now be bewildered. You see, God allowed them to underestimate you on purpose. He allowed them to think you were weak, forgettable, unworthy, because He needed them to walk away before your glory came. He needed to remove every counterfeit before He crowned the real version of you. You've passed the tests others failed, not because you're better, but because you were willing to break. That's what set you apart. You let God crush you, prune you, empty you, and now He's filling you with something rare, something eternal. The world chases temporary highs. You chose holy stillness, and now you're about to walk in power. But don't expect this justice to come in the way you imagine. It's not about revenge, it's about revelation. God isn't coming to humiliate your enemies. He's coming to vindicate your soul, to show everyone that your silence was strength, that your abstinence wasn't weakness. It was warfare. Every time you chose to pray instead of act out, you broke a chain. Every time you sat in the discomfort instead of reaching for that quick escape, you opened a portal. And now the rewards are descending. Slowly, surely, powerfully. You are being cloaked in divine favor. It's a glow the world didn't see coming, a radiance that doesn't come from looks or fame, but from purity, real purity. The kind the spirit world respects and the darkness fears. The kind that unlocks doors no human can shut. The kind that causes people to stop and stare without knowing why. And the reason is this: you carry the presence of God. Do you know how rare that is in this world? This world is full of noise, clout, greed, lust, manipulation. But you've chosen to become a vessel, and now your very being is becoming a prophetic message. God is about to speak through your life, your journey, your glow. Your eyes will say what your mouth doesn't have to. Your peace will silence chaos. Your walk will inspire deliverance. And in this season, you don't have to beg for opportunities. They're coming. You don't have to chase validation. It's irrelevant now. You don't have to prove anything. God is about to prove you. The version of you that people forgot, misjudged, walked away from, that version is about to rise like a lion from the ashes. The justice of God is precise. He's not coming to make people feel bad. He's coming to fulfill His promise. He said He would exalt the humble. He said He would reward the obedient. He said He would prepare a table in the presence of your enemies, and that table is being set right now, in the spirit, in the atmosphere, in the timeline of your life. What was delayed will now be delivered. What was lost will now be restored. What was stolen will now return sevenfold. And all of it will feel like a dream at first. You'll walk into rooms you never imagined entering. You'll receive messages from people who once ignored you. You'll be offered chances that don't make sense on paper. That's what favor does. It doesn't ask for permission. It just flows wherever obedience has paved the way. But make no mistake, this is not about reward for reward's sake. It's about legacy. God is positioning you not to be seen, but to shift. You're becoming a spiritual lighthouse in a generation drowning in desire. Your story is medicine. Your purity is power. Your journey is sacred. And the very thing you thought would disqualify you, your past, your mistakes, your long nights of wrestling, has become the thing that qualifies you the most. You didn't just resist sin. You resisted becoming numb. You kept your heart open when the world tried to close it. You kept your soul clean when the world tried to stain it. And now you're seeing life with new eyes, clear eyes, holy eyes. And with that vision comes a deeper responsibility. You're not just called to receive, you're called to lead. Not by title, not by platform, but by presence. The way you carry yourself, the way you speak life, the way you show restraint when others unravel. This is your anointing. And as you continue to walk in this divine flow, God is going to give you deeper insight, stronger boundaries, supernatural protection. Don't be surprised if people can't get near you anymore. That's not ego, that's elevation. God is hiding you, not because you're being punished, but because He's preparing to present you. And when He does, it will be undeniable that He's the one who did it. So stay grounded, stay obedient, stay available, because the next wave that's coming to you is bigger than you've ever seen. And it's not coming because you chased it. It's coming because you prepared for it. You were faithful in the drought, and now comes the downpour. This is your spiritual inheritance, the fruit of your abstinence, the proof that God sees, hears, and remembers every sacrifice. And if you listen closely, in the silence of your spirit, you'll hear Him whisper, "Well done. Now watch what I do next." If you've ever wondered why the attacks on your life seem so relentless, why the temptations came stronger just as you started to walk away, why people who once celebrated you suddenly turned cold the moment you stepped into your power, then listen carefully. You weren't being attacked because you were weak. You were being attacked because of what you carry. The forces that fight you recognize your assignment even before you do. They saw that your abstinence wasn't just an act of self-discipline, it was a declaration of spiritual war. And that declaration echoed far into realms that most people never see. Desire, when corrupted, is the enemy's most subtle weapon. It's not just about lust of the body, it's about stealing your attention, robbing your focus, draining your soul. And when you chose to abstain, when you decided to remove yourself from the grip of flesh-driven pleasure, you began to diffuse a bomb that was planted in your spirit long ago. A bomb meant to destroy your clarity, a bomb meant to distract you from your mission, a bomb designed to keep you locked in cycles you were never meant to stay in. But you heard God's voice through the noise. You saw the pattern, and you did the one thing the enemy never expected. You walked away. What you didn't realize is that in that one act of walking away from desire, you were walking toward divine destiny. And suddenly the attacks weren't about punishing you. They were about preventing what was coming through you. You see, the enemy doesn't just fear who you are right now. He fears who you're about to become. That's why temptation intensified. That's why confusion crept in. That's why certain people appeared out of nowhere. Distractions dressed as comfort. They came to make you question your path, to make you wonder if maybe, just maybe, you were being too extreme. But you weren't being extreme. You were being holy. And holiness is rare, not because it's hard, but because it requires understanding the paradox that what feels like loss is actually gain, that what looks like restriction is actually liberation. The world teaches you that abstaining is denial. But in the kingdom, abstaining is access. When you stop feeding the flesh, you start feeding the soul. And when your soul is nourished, you begin to awaken senses you never knew you had. You start to dream prophetically. You start to hear God clearly. You start to discern hidden intentions in people's words and actions. You walk into rooms and feel what others cannot. You're no longer blind to the spiritual atmosphere. You are the shift in the atmosphere. And this scares those who are still addicted to the false lights of this world. They don't understand how you can glow without needing attention, how you can love without craving validation, how you can walk in power without manipulating others. But that's what divine alignment looks like. It's the paradox that confuses the world and glorifies God. And here's a deeper truth. The people who hurt you were often not acting of their own will. Many of them were being used unknowingly as vessels to test you, to refine you, to expose the unhealed places in you. They were sent not to destroy you, but to reveal the areas where you still doubted your worth. And once they served their purpose, they disappeared. That's why they ghosted. That's why they turned on you suddenly. It wasn't personal, it was spiritual. The enemy doesn't need to destroy a chosen one. He just needs to distract them long enough for them to abort their own purpose. But you didn't fall for it, Or if you did for a season, you got back up, you healed, you repented, you got stronger, you began to notice the patterns, and you broke them. And every time you broke a pattern, you broke a generational curse. You weren't just healing yourself, you were healing your bloodline. That's why the warfare has been so intense. That's why your breakthroughs have come with such pressure. Because you weren't just rising for yourself, you were rising for every ancestor who couldn't. For every child you'll bring into the world. For every soul who will hear your story and decide to heal instead of hide. You're a seed planted in hard ground, but that seed is about to bloom in front of the world. And don't underestimate the weight of what you've been entrusted with. Abstaining from desire wasn't just about personal purity, it was about divine preservation. You were being kept from counterfeit blessings, so that your hands would be free to receive the real ones. You were being shielded from soul ties that would have corrupted your vision. You were being stripped of ego so that your spirit could shine. This is what happens when God gets involved. He doesn't just remove things from your life. He rewrites your life. He interrupts every plan that would have led you to destruction, even if you begged him to let it stay. That's why some relationships didn't work. That's why certain jobs didn't last. That's why doors closed, friends changed, and seasons shifted without warning. God wasn't punishing you. He was protecting the promise inside you. And that promise is now maturing. The pain made you ready. The waiting made you wise. The silence taught you how to listen to what others can't hear. You are not the same person who once cried out in desperation. You are not the same soul who once questioned their worth. You've crossed over into a new territory now, one where your life becomes evidence of what happens when someone chooses the narrow path and doesn't turn back. The psychology behind the people who couldn't handle your growth is simple. They saw the light in you and it triggered the darkness in them. They mistook your silence for arrogance. They mistook your boundaries for rejection. But what they didn't realize is that your shift wasn't about them, it was about obedience. And now they are witnessing a version of you that doesn't need to chase, prove, or explain. You've become too anchored in God to be moved by the noise of man. Your soul's mission is too urgent for you to look back now. You weren't called to blend in. You were called to stand out. You weren't sent here to numb yourself with cheap highs. You were sent to heal nations with your words, your energy, your life. And every time you chose to abstain, you moved closer to that mission. Every no was an open door to the supernatural. Every moment of restraint was a moment of restoration. Now the heavens are opening. The light is descending. The crown is being placed, not on your head for pride, but on your spirit for purpose. You were born for this. You were trained for this, and everything the enemy used to destroy you has become the very stone you now stand on to declare, I am chosen, I am covered, I am unstoppable. You've been walking a narrow road, a road few dare to walk. You've endured isolation that felt like punishment but was actually preparation. You've been through internal wars where the loudest battles were fought in the silence of your own mind. You said no when the world screamed yes. You turned away when every cell in your body begged for a hit of comfort, a rush of feeling, a fleeting escape. But in that quiet refusal, you unlocked something sacred, something eternal, something divine. Chosen one, your abstinence wasn't a sacrifice, it was an initiation. It was the shedding of what was never truly you. It was the breaking of ancestral chains, the silencing of voices that once ruled you, the burial of identities that kept you small. And now you've stepped into who you really are, not who the world told you to be, but who God designed before you were ever born. You're not just healing anymore, you're leading, quietly, powerfully, spiritually, without applause, without fanfare. You've become a vessel so purified by fire that even your presence becomes a sermon, even your silence becomes a sanctuary. And this, right here, is the evidence of what happens when someone chooses spirit over sensation, purpose over pleasure, destiny over desire. You may feel strange. You may feel misunderstood. That's okay. It's because you've outgrown this world's dimension. You no longer speak its language. You've become fluent in the frequency of heaven. You recognize timing now, not by clocks, but by divine nudges. You see truth, not just in words, but in energy. You don't just look at people anymore, you discern them. This is the reward, the restoration of your sight, your power, your voice. And what comes next? It's not just blessings, it's birthing. You're stepping into a season where what God deposited in you will no longer be able to stay hidden. The things you've seen in dreams will begin to manifest in your waking life. What was once just a whisper in the dark will now become the very roar that shifts your atmosphere. God is sending people to help you, elevate you, support you, not because you asked, but because you've been found faithful. And what is faithful in secret will be rewarded openly. But don't mistake this next chapter for a finish line. No, this is just the unveiling. You are being revealed, not just to others, but to yourself. You'll begin to see parts of you that had been buried under years of programming, fear, and shame. You'll wake up with clarity. You'll make moves without hesitation. You'll forgive quicker, love deeper, and detach cleaner. This is what spiritual maturity feels like. Calm power, deep knowing, steady peace. And it all began when you said no to the thing that wanted to own you. That desire, once worshipped, now defeated, was never your master. It was your teacher. It showed you what still needed healing. It revealed where you still doubted God's sufficiency. But you passed the test. You let it teach you. And now it no longer controls you. That is real power. That is divine mastery. Now, chosen one, here is what I want you to remember as you move forward. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not late. You are right on time. God has never been more involved in your life than He is right now. Every delay was divine. Every pause was protection. Every closed door was a redirection. And now you stand at the edge of something holy, something irreversible. The shift is here, so breathe. Let the old go completely. Let the shame evaporate. Let the guilt dissolve. There is nothing in your past that can disqualify you from your future, not when God is involved, not when you've said yes to becoming, not when you've walked through the fire and come out glowing. This is your season to rise, not in pride, but in purpose. To speak, to lead, to love, to live in alignment with heaven's rhythm. You don't need anyone's permission to shine. God already gave you His. The anointing is on you. The angels are around you. The shift is within you. So walk boldly now. Walk like someone who knows that every temptation you defeated became a brick in the foundation of your divine calling. And here's the spiritual call to action. Stay anchored. Stay in the Word. Pray even when you don't feel like it. Listen even when heaven feels quiet. Guard your energy like it's sacred, because it is. Stay pure, not just in body, but in intention. Live with integrity even when no one's watching, because that's who you are now, not because you're trying to be perfect, but because you're aligned. God isn't finished with you. He's just getting started. So smile when they doubt you. Bless them when they leave you. Thank God when the temptation returns, for even that is a sign that you're growing. You are no longer who you used to be, and you will never go back. You are chosen. You are protected. You are rising. And what's coming next? It's going to shock everyone, even you. Now go, walk into your becoming. Heaven is watching, and the earth is about to feel the shift you were born to bring. Peace be upon you, chosen one. Until next time.